is to focus on watching, thinking, and learning as his life depends on it. Lucille takes a massive punch and realizes that Broad's abusive advice ends up motivating, but Lucille still cannot land a hit on Broad. Broad goes harder on him, launching several punches. He tells Lucille to think while defending because each strike has a purpose. His goal? He knows that he's still a beginner and asks Broad to try again. Broad is taken aback because Lucille is smiling like a freak, but Lucille on the back by a were-rat. Lucille checks the wounds and says that he can close her wound with his magic, but she could be infected. In that case, she should replies he will at least hit him once. Broad gets all hyped up, preparing to go all in, but they're interrupted. A cat girl appears mentioning she's here to be healed. She tells him that she was bit, visit a doctor. He heals her, but he notices the cat girl tearing up. He thinks he did something wrong when the girl's party leader asks for his name. The guy asks if Lucille also heals beast folks, but Lucille is confused. He doesn't care about race because both are his patients. The party leader says that Lucille is a good guy and asks if they can come back in the future. Lucille tells them they can, and the cat girl thanks him by hugging him. A month quickly passed by, and Lucille noticed people started to speak to him more often. His training became different, and now he's been working on his throwing skills. Over the course of the last month, his daily Substance X cups became bigger, and more people requested his healing services. Since it's the last day of the contract, Lucille thanks Broad for helping him for the whole month. He mentions that he will return to the Healers Guild to find work. Lucille explains that he needs to pay for his Healer Guild fees to continue being a healer. Broad then pulls out a bag of coins and gives it to him. He says it's Lucille's reward for training for a whole month, plus saving adventurers' lives. Lucille ends up accepting it and heads out to pay his fees. The adventurers, hearing the conversation, tell him they will be waiting for him to come back. Lucille starts to tear down and promises that he will return. He goes to the Healers Guild and pays the fees for a whole year. He then returns to the Adventurers Guild and he sees Broad. Explains he has done it hundreds of times. Galba explains that Broad sent Lucille here to learn about monsters, especially to find out their weak points, and thinks of ways to deal with them. Galba explains it will help Lucille survive when he goes out on his adventures as a healer. He mentions that newbies don't care about preparing themselves like Lucille wants, but Lucille says he just doesn't want to randomly die. Galba replies that all adventurers don't want to die, but they think of themselves as heroes. So, they end up rushing into battle and dying because they're dumb. Lucille feels bad, but Galba explains the death rate among new adventurers reduced after Lucille came there. So in the end, those reckless wannabe heroes end up learning the lesson.